Welcome to Sales Training for Podcasters, the podcast designed to better your sales process. We'll be sharing tools, tips, and techniques, whether you love sales or hate sales. If you've got a product or service to sell and a podcast, you've come to the right place. Now, here's your hosts, podcast strategists, Doug Sandler and JJ Flizanes.
Hey, this is Doug Sandler. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Sales Training for Podcasters. And of course, I am accompanied by my lovely partner,
JJ Flizanes.
Hello, JJ.
Hello, Douglas.
So, all right. So we've talked for the last 3 episodes about our eagle, our parrot, and our owl. And those are 3 birds that if you have no idea what we're talking about, go back and listen to the other 3 episodes before you listen to this one, because we're going to tie a whole bunch of stuff together, which is really cool. But today we are going to offer to you the description and the image of the 4th and final bird in our quadrangle. Quadrangle? Is that a thing?
I don't know where you're going right now, so I'm just gonna cut
You're gonna
in right
jump
now.
into it,
I'm
huh?
just gonna jump in. The eagle in me wants to just get to the point.
Well, wait. It's the hummingbird, right?
Haha.
No, the seagull.
Haha.
No, the falcon.
Haha.
No, we really got it this time.
It's the dove. So on the DISC system, D would be dominant, and that's the eagle. I would be interactive. That's the parrot. And then S, so we skipped over and we went straight to conscientious for the C, for owl. But let's go back up one, and it's the dove. The dove is known as the supportive one. So a dove, just like you think of doves, they're white, they're fluffy, they're friendly.
They're peacekeepers.
They're understanding, they're good listeners, they're patient, they're sincere, they're team players, they're people pleasers, okay? So a dove would be the most gentle of all of these birds, right? And when we're looking at whether it be sales training for podcasters or selling in the world or even communicating in the world, you need that supportive dove in your world personally. You want someone who listens to you, someone who cares, someone who's relaxed and patient. It's a very good trait to have. When you're thinking of selling, though, to a dove, and let's say you're an eagle might come off a little too strong for a dove. And if you're trying to convince a dove to take some action, it might be something to think about for you as an eagle to just pull back a little bit, to be a little bit lighter, to be more friendly and not quite as direct, because direct can be taken the wrong way.
What would you say would be a telltale sign that you are selling to a dove?
Someone that doesn't talk very much. Someone that just listens. Someone who shakes their head. Someone who goes, wow, yeah, okay. Because they're a good listener. So they're a good listener, and so they're taking everything in.
So if you're a salesperson, that would be an eagle, an owl, or a parrot, and you want to sell to a dove, try to get the dove out of their shell a little bit. Try to pull them through the conversation by having them contribute to the conversation. Ask them questions about the things that you just covered. Oftentimes they will give you some feedback really quickly about the things that they like or the things that they don't like. And don't be offended if there are things that they don't like, and don't be defensive about it either. Just listen to what they have to say. They're not throwing up an objection because they want to get out of the sales conversation. They're just sharing with you their feelings. They're very open and very honest about the things that they are seeing.
But ask questions, because if you don't, doves are really good listeners. And so they're going to listen to. If you have a parrot trying to sell to a dove,
they're going to listen
they're just going to keep
entire
listening.
time to you. You can have an hour-long presentation. Never ask for questions, and they will never add anything.
And the parrot will be like, oh, that went really well.
Yeah, you got to be really, really careful. You must draw them out and have them have conversation with you, because they are, not that they're hesitant, but they don't want to step on your toes. They're like, I didn't want to interrupt him. He was having such a good time sharing his conversation with me.
Right, but you can't say, oh, God, that went really well, when they didn't say anything.
Yes.
If you're trying to persuade a dove to take action, then we have to kind of force and encourage the dove to share and to talk and be the talker instead of the listener. We have to have a role reversal. So again, if you're a parrot trying to sell to a dove or convince them of anything, again, this applies to life. It's shut up, parrot. Ask questions, right? Draw it out of be the dove. Okay, channel the dove. Ask the questions and keep your mouth shut. Like literally I had a situation today where someone had asked me for something. It was like a sales thing. And I just said, you know what, can I take a pause on this? All I did was stop. And this person is a dove. And all I did was stop. And she came back and said, okay, I'll buy it. And I was like, well, hold on. I was just literally asking you to take a pause. And that was because sometimes doves can get uncomfortable standing up for themselves or asking for something. So again, it has to be think of doves as gentle and steady and relaxed and patient and friendly and understanding. So you have to do the same thing to them. They need to feel safe in order to make a decision. Now, if you're an eagle with a dove, again, us eagles, we can be direct.
You got to put you got to put a little velvet on your sledgehammer.
Velvet on the sledgehammer, right? We also want to show our feelings and emotions. We want to connect emotionally, because the thing is, with a dove, they don't care as much about results. They care about experience. Now, they may want results, but they want the experience and they want to be seen and heard. And if you're an eagle concentrating only on the results, then the dove feels like, well, that's not as important to me. I want to feel safe. I want to feel connected. I want to feel seen and heard. All right. Now, if you're an eagle,
if you're an owl and you're selling to a dove, just keep in mind that the details, while they want to know the facts and they want to understand the underlying reason why they may want to buy your product or service, they don't want all of the details that you're going to give them if you are selling to another owl.
And if you're a dove trying to sell, you probably have a hard time with all of this, because you're usually the listener. You're usually the person who's supporting the person talking.
You know what's interesting about a dove when it comes to selling? A dove takes a very consultative approach to selling. He's going to be, or she's going to be, the one that is going to be in the middle of the prospecting call and decide, you know what, this may not be a good fit for you. Because they're so open and honest, they tend to be they will lean in the direction that their prospect leans in, and they may say no more to yes when it comes to them being actually the salesperson. They take a very consultative approach to selling.
And they also undervalue themselves. A lot of times doves will want to help so much that they undervalue themselves. And so they don't charge enough. They give away stuff for free too much. And it's hard to ask for their worth. And that doesn't mean that all doves have a sense or a lack of self-worth. It just means that if they believe that they're the person that's supposed to be the people pleaser or the good listener or friendly, that becomes a role that they think is inherent to them. So learning something other than that is about confidence and about learning how to value your own worth. So let's talk about the challenges a dove might have in selling.
A dove will be less forceful or direct in the sales cycle. So unless they have a 100% prospect that is interested in the services, they have a very tough time overcoming objections, because they tend to agree with their prospect a lot, even if their prospect isn't right, for fear that they're going to hurt the prospect's feelings.
So in life as a dove, again, I think I've mentioned a couple times already, people pleaser, peacekeeper. Now, the problem with that is that the dove is going to have a lot of unexpressed feelings and probably feel a little resentful in ways, maybe have some back pain, that's some unexpressed
You're getting
feelings.
into the psychology of a dove now, huh?
Well, there's the psychology of all of these birds. We did a lot of that with our client in Baltimore, right, when we taught this to a company, because I also wanted people to be compassionate about what others are going through. A lot of times when you have, let's see, a dove, you'll assume, because they are a good listener and they're patient and they seem relaxed and they're sincere and they're a team player, you'll just assume they're okay, because they don't speak up for themselves. And that's the problem, is you can't assume that everything's okay with them, because they take that secondary role of following, not leading. And if they have a problem, they're probably not going to tell you about it until it's too late. And this would be to know that you have to check in with the dove from time to time to say, how are you doing? And ask them a direct question versus don't assume. An eagle would assume, if I have a problem, I'll tell you. You don't have to check in with me because I will tell you when I have a problem.
If you're a parrot, the parrot will show you through their emotion how they feel. They will show you. They will be wearing it on their face. It will not. Parrots have a very bad poker face.
Well, a parrot will check in whether they're having a good time or a bad time, whether it's going well or not going well. They'll just check in because they want to, right? An eagle is not going to waste the time unless there's a problem, and they don't have to be asked. A dove is not going to.
An owl will continue to ask questions until they get the answers to the questions.
An owl is going to spreadsheet this and going to record everything and then going to overanalyze it and then present the facts to you because they are more about facts.
These are the toughest people for me to sell to. A parrot selling to an owl is a tough game. Tough game.
Now, luckily, we all have two. You'll have a dominant, and then you'll have a secondary. And again, there's nothing good nor bad because here, let's go over the negative traits because I don't think I didn't give this enough airtime because it might sound like I'm a little biased to an eagle. So the problem with eagles is that eagles can be arrogant. Eagles can be short-tempered. Eagles can be, I'm thinking of a particular client, disconnected and not really care and not want to take the time to understand what's going on with everybody because they're results-driven. So definitely eagles can be jerks and not care because they just want to deal with people who are more like them. Eagles probably have the least amount of patience when it comes to dealing with other people. A parrot, as long as they're being seen and heard, will probably be good. Again, but you have to watch if they'll take center stage. So on the negative side of parrots is they can need too much attention. So if you have somebody who is a prospect or a client or a friend or a family member who always is talking and talking and talking and they annoy the shit out of you, try complimenting them. Try saying, oh, you must be like whatever they're talking about. Oh, you must be super successful. And then watch to see if that's what they were looking for. Because sometimes certain parrots will talk and talk until they get what they want. They're not being direct and asking for it. Hey, can you compliment me? Hey, can you recognize my status in life so that I can feel confident and secure now to be with you and not have to prove myself? They're not going to ask that. They're not that conscious. But if you have a parrot around you, and I'm thinking of another parrot that we know and love, and she would always want to tell everyone all of her successes all the time upon meeting you within the first 5 minutes. But try this tactic. Try that if that's somebody and they annoy you, take a deep breath, just hear what's underneath that they're looking to be acknowledged. They're looking to be seen and heard, and just reflect that back to them. Well, you sound very successful, or you sound whatever it is that they're talking about. And then see if that gives them what they've been looking for enough to be quiet so that you can talk to them about whatever the opportunity is that you have. Okay, so then we're going to jump back to the owl. And one of the negative traits about an owl is that they're too controlling, is that they control things and they have anxiety possibly about that. They overthink things. They stuff
go
their emotions.
Through paralysis through analysis. I can tell you that. I've had a number of owls. And look, if you can't tell, this is the one that I have the biggest challenge with putting into my products and services. They literally want to spreadsheet the entire thing, as we said before. But oftentimes, if they don't get all of the answers or they don't find the answers that they are looking for, even if they've done an analysis of 4 or 5 different organizations to buy the same level of service from, they possibly are going to say, you know what, I just don't have my answer here. And they may just put the whole thing on hold until they can figure it all out.
Well, an owl's also not going to be a fast buyer. You can have a conversation with an owl and they'll come back to you a month later, 6 months later, because they're going to do their due diligence and their research. They're not going to buy from an emotional standpoint.
An owl will say in the first quarter, we're thinking of making this decision fourth quarter.
Absolutely. They're planners.
They're planners.
They're planners. So on the positive side, all of those are really necessary. Again, if you have a team of people or you're looking for someone to help you, hire an owl because you want to be able to if you don't do that, you need someone to do that for you. However, the downside and the negative side on the psychological side is that sometimes, well, first of all, control is an illusion. So someone who is so controlling also, like Doug said, it's analysis paralysis. They won't take action, which means they're going to stay stuck. They're going to stay stuck for a long time, and they're going to continue. Basically, the addiction is to not actually take action. It's just to research. I'm just going to research because they feel like they're being productive, but they're not. They're just being busy. because they think that they're trying to gather information, but then again, they're left being indecisive when it comes to buying because they've just inundated themselves with a lot of information. So if you're an owl and you're looking for relief, take more risks. Bungee jump. Don't do your taxes. No, I'm kidding.
Whoa.
Don't balance checkbook. Just, you can figure out ways to challenge yourself to break through that upper limit and to get out of your comfort zone and really add some balance. And that's really what this is about, is that we all become out of balance when we're too in our lane.
In our bird.
Yeah, when we're in our bird, when in our lane. And so for eagles, the balance would be to talk less, listen more, be more dove-like. It would be to be more social and connect with people like a parrot would, and to maybe look at the details every so often, or at least hire someone else to do it if you're not an owl.
So I was growing up, my friend always used to call me a turkey. Was that a bird?
It is.
I know it's a bird. That's not one on our list.
It is
though.
not.
No. Okay.
No, that is a whole different meaning. Let's go through the balance of a parrot. So to get more balance, if you're a parrot, and again, this all applies to the sales game, but I just want to address it on a personal side because I think that you can turn around right now and use all of this in your life as it is with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your employees, whomever you interact with, and even with your podcast listeners. So if you're a parrot, now granted, podcasts are for talking. I don't have as much parrot as Doug does, but I can do good parrot because I definitely can get excited on my episodes, so much so that people that don't know me want me to shut up, which is fine. I respect that, but tough shit, it's my show.
Well, you do still take the leadership role, so you do take the eagle role. I always see you as an eagle first with a parrot second. I always think that a parrot, the predominant trait of a parrot or characteristic of a parrot is that there's a lot of emotion connected to the story, and I don't passion, while it is certainly part of the emotion that you bring forward. I always think emotion as in just joy, happiness, like exuberance. That's to me reminds me of a parrot, but definitely eagle. And I know you do like to talk, so parrot secondary.
Well, I don't know that I think owl is secondary for me, or at least it's a combo between owl and parrot. I definitely have the least amount of dove, which is why I hire people who are doves so they can do the customer service for me. Thank you, Ashley, because she is much more dove-like and also owl-like than me.
Doves are really, you made a really good point that I don't think we've talked about this. Doves are excellent with customer service because they oftentimes will see the perspective of the client almost before they see the perspective of the company. Hey, this person's investing money in our company. I really should be seeing it their way.
Absolutely. You want doves doing your customer service because your clients will be seen and heard. But you want your doves to know the other birds so that they don't feel offended by and rejected by and stomped on by the eagle and the parrot, because they need to know how to handle themselves with everybody else. So if you're a dove and you are a podcaster, that would be an interesting thing. I would just say that you want to balance out yourself as a dove with, bringing on people who do things that you don't do, being able to bring on strong leaders, being able to bring on some people that can talk and teach in a linear way, if that's a challenge for you. And then definitely bring on people that are talkers. I don't know how many times, it hasn't happened that much to me because I'll be honest, I invite a lot of people that I already know, like, and trust onto my show. But there have been a very few times where I have heard interviews where the host or the person's show will ask a question and people will give like a one-line answer. And I'll think, you're supposed to talk more. You're supposed to come on. Now, I've done that where I've actually made up the difference for someone that didn't give a story or didn't say as much. But if you're a dove and you're trying to get out into the world of podcasting and be a leader or have some of that or sell your products, you're going to have to learn to talk a little bit more and put yourself out there. All right. So then the last one would be getting some balance for the owl. So if you're someone who loves your details and your analysis and your precision, again, we got to let go of the reins, a little bit of control.
There's the owl is the one that the person that's the parrot has to say, you need to crack a joke. You need to talk a little bit more. You need to lead in with a story. You need to be relatable to the person that's across the prospect table from you. So I would say that while the details are important, the story and the emotion connected to it are extremely important as well.
So if you haven't already, I would love for you to take out a piece of paper. You can do this mentally. And if you do it mentally, do it out loud. But it does help to write it down because you want to look at the most important people in your life, both your family and your clients, and to be able to list what they are. What's their dominant personality trait? So who in your life is an eagle? And, for some of you, that might explain a whole dynamic of a relationship gone bad. Because maybe you had somebody who, let's say you're a dove and your mom was an eagle and you felt really bullied by her. Well, maybe that was your interpretation of bully, but really she was just trying to be a good leader and you needed someone to listen more and to lead less. But she didn't know that and you didn't know that. Nobody articulated that. So think about who in your life is an eagle, and clients also. Think about in your life, now write down who would be, and maybe let's go back and say it out loud. So actually let's do a couple. So who else in your life, Doug Sandler, would be an eagle?
Well, I'm thinking about the people that are well, you are definitely an eagle in my life, for sure. I think that you are. I think that our friend Michael is, to a degree, he's got a lot of eagle. The people that are entrepreneurs that are out there on the firing line, that are outspoken, I tend to find that they're very eagle in their characteristics. I think that, let me think about this.
Anyone in your family?
Wow. Who in my family? Is my mom? Do you think she's an eagle? No, I was going to say that too.
Your mom's a parrot.
Okay, so I know where I get it from then. So who in my family?
Or a dove.
Or a dove.
Most likely a parrot.
Well, help. Let's see. This is...
She's probably parrot and dove combo, your mom. Your dad was an eagle.
My dad was an eagle, I think, then.
What was David?
Wow, my brother David, he was definitely a dove. He didn't want to know about the details. He loved the story, but it wasn't really an essential element to him. He was definitely not as much of a storyteller, although he was probably a dove with a parrot secondary.
Yeah, my mom is a dove. My dad is an owl. I have no idea what my brother is.
It's really interesting. As you think about the people in your life, forget the sales situation, sales scenario or not. Just think about the people in your lives who are, as JJ said, it's an interesting exercise. I would take it out of your brain and put it onto a piece of paper. I would list eagle, dove, parrot, owl, and see how many people fall into what categories. See what category of people that you relate to the most, and see what category of people you relate to the least. And determine what it is that you need to do in order to relate to them more. Are they people that you want to always tell, if you're an eagle, that you always want to tell, shut up and stop telling the stories? Or would you just get to the point? You'll start to find out why you do relate to these certain characteristics, certain bird types more often than not.
So this will conclude our presentation on the birds.
This is interesting.
And please keep this in mind when you are creating products and programs and talking to your audience, since you don't know what they are because you don't see them when you're talking. But maybe start to use language in several different ways. So obviously it's a show, so you're going to be talking and you're not going to be listening, okay, when it comes to being a dove on your show. But maybe you want to be friendlier, or maybe you want to be more daring and persistent. I'm definitely persistent. I'm looking at that eagle list, and results oriented, or throw some facts in there, throw some information in there for the owl who needs to hear that this is a real thing. And I think that's when it comes down to, for me, there was a book called Radical Remission that Dr. Kelly Turner put together. She researched 1,500 radical remission cancer patients and took lots of notes, and then came up with 9 things they all did that created a radical remission.
See, that to me, that is so owl.
It's very owl, but she's also very dove-like. But see, that's not me. I've been talking about all the principles in radical remission. I've known this in my gut without scientific backing because I understand the science 20 years ago. When I read that book and I interviewed one of the people from the Radical Remission Project, I mean, I read it going, I should have written this book, but I never would have. You know why? Because I never would have taken the time to done the research because I didn't need to, meaning I already believed it and knew it. But so that's why my crowd is not going to be the owl. She was writing the book for that medical The people who are more interested in the data, who want the studies. I don't need the studies because I understand like different parts of the sciences. So anyway, just keep that in mind when you're considering who you're recording for, who you're talking to. When you get a prospect and someone interested in what it is that you do, just click into what their needs are and how would they best be communicated with to get them to engage with you so you can help them. It's not just about closing the sale. It's about understanding the person in front of you so you know how best to help them.
Interesting set of episodes that we just did. I'm excited for more future episodes. Any final words about the birds before we wrap up?
No, I would just say, write them down, keep it in mind, use it as a really easy way to assess communication with people.
Thanks for tuning in yet another week to Sales Training for Podcasters. We'll see you guys again next week.
Thanks for listening to Sales Training for Podcasters. To get additional information and to access more amazing content that will boost your sales game, visit salestrainingforpodcasters.com. Hey, do us a favor. Rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thanks for listening.